What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Between Two Ferns, the movie, starring, of course, Zach Galifianakis, I believe as himself, hosts a show, an interview show. It was a long-running Funny or Die show where he would interview people, interview celebrities, politicians, and it was basically the worst interview ever, was the premise, I think. But hilarious. They're hilarious episodes. I think he had on. Did he have on Obama? He had on Hillary Clinton. But he's had on like almost anybody you could think of. I would imagine, celebrity wise, for the most part, at least comedy acting. He's had on, and they're hilarious. And there's a movie that follows this not only Zach but his crew, that his directors and camera operators and audio engineers, as they go, they hit it big in a way. They go and they travel to. I tell you the truth, I barely know what the premise, like what the actual narrative. So instead of having the celebrities go to them, they decide to go on a road trip to interview the celebrities. Is the premise of the show, and then on the way they're filming these episodes because Will Ferrell's gonna give them a bunch of money or whatever. And the movie you're watching is actually a student film which is kind of, it's not really. I guess maybe not the movie you're watching is the student film, but there's also a student film. I don't know. There's a lot of things going on to kind of make this universe a little bit more real, which is fun. It's got the interview funniness that you're used to from the episodes, which are normally, I think, Between Two Fern episodes are pretty short, like less than a half hour, 10 minutes. They're pretty short. If it's, I should have looked up, some of them to maybe, share some of my favorite episodes of Between Two Ferns. But I remember them being short because I hadn't watched them in forever. I mean, I hadn't watched them ever, despite them being a very popular thing. Maybe saw an episode here or there from Reddit, but never really got into the show itself. Until, one day I decided, well, let's watch these Between Two Ferns. And then I binged like every episode in the day or 2 days, which they're hilarious. It's basically like a cable access interview by the worst interviewer, but in the funniest way. It's a very fun style to do. I mean, it's very Zach Galifianakis as well. Just kind of the always on a different page, never really communicating on the same universe. Like he's from another universe, and the realities are so similar yet so different. So when he communicates, there's a huge translation barrier because he's speaking from a different universe, and the show has all of that. Plus, the narrative is whatever. The story, it's just the excuse for these characters to go on a road trip and an excuse to get more kind of the Between Two Ferns interviews. Kind of like Tommy Boy. It's like, yeah, they're going on a road trip to, sell brakes to factories or whatever, but it's really about the road trip, So, although this isn't necessarily about the road trip, it's more about just an excuse to frame these Between Two Ferns episodes, which is funny, which is good. I mean, it's a very, if you're a fan of the Between Two Ferns show, it's the perfect movie to watch. It's a great companion piece to that. But as far as comedy-wise, the outtakes for this movie that play at the end of the movie, like a Jackie Chan film, are by far the most hilarious because it's you're getting these outtakes from these interviews, but the outtakes are when reality cracks through, and just the amount of hilarity. It's like the comedy in the show are like the ground just starting to rumble before, like just getting a weak little earthquake where it just rumbles. There's just some friction and frustration there, right? And it's just like but then when reality breaks through, it's like fucking volcanoes of hilarity. And there's just especially if you know the actors and their careers, obviously makes the comedy, the on purpose comedy, just as funny. But I heard Zach talk about on some episode, or maybe it was somebody that's involved with the production of Between Two Ferns somewhere, probably in promotion for the movie. But they were talking about how much is recorded with their guest for the Funny or Die show. How much is recorded, and like I think it was somebody talking about it was a while ago, a few years ago, probably on some podcast. Anyway, so they record like hours and hours of like interviews of Zach asking tons of questions and trying to get the funniest moments, and then it's boiled down into however long an actual episode of Between Two Ferns is, which I believe is short, which is just crazy. It's just crazy, like in comparison. Not that this show is at all trying to be that show, but just podcasts in general. Just the minimal one take, let's do this, hopefully roll with it. Although I'm not doing a character, obviously, but if you wanted to boil out the funniest parts, doing a super long form, like I've just never been a part of a production that was created content in that way, and it's just interesting. It's interesting to hear just how much, like, I want to see the entire. I love the boiled down part or whatever, but I would love to see the full 3-4 hour, however long Zach sits down with these guests for, however long he has them to run through all the different things that they had thought up to bring up for this interview. Like, I'd love to see the long form version, the uncut version of that. And I think, I guarantee if they uploaded those to YouTube, right? I mean, I would imagine there's things they might need to cut out. I don't know. Just upload. They would probably get just as many, if not in some cases more views than the edited ones. Like, I think people, there's a lot of people are used to having so many, if they come from the traditional, like, quote unquote Hollywood's production, system, the whole just giant fucking all the businesses that create content in sometimes very old school ways, versus now where everybody can create content. Like, there's almost the comparison would be like Saturday Night Live. Like, the fact that people in that industry strive to be on Saturday Night Live versus, you can just make your own Saturday Night Live every week if that's what you want to do. If you want to invest the time and effort and the small amount of money to produce something like that, you can do that and distribute it on all the platforms for free online, and eventually generate income from that instead of being on a TV show owned by a giant corporation that's, not that funny, It's like SNL. I haven't liked SNL in forever. It's just amazing which I get people have dreams, but it's like we live in a completely different world than when you were growing up. You need to evolve your dreams to, kind of relate to modern day, which, all of this being said, going back to Between Two Ferns, it did remind me a lot of like a Wayne's World kind of a thing, but it's also, the production for this is very much, a small production. Actually, kind of reminded me of just the overall production wise. Just never mind. I don't know what I was going to say there. But Between Two Ferns, and it kind of goes the way of Wayne's World, where the funding at the end ruins the art. It's kind of the story overall. Spoilers. But I enjoyed it. But the outtakes are way better. Anyway, I'm done. I went on a way long tangent, and I apologize because I don't think I ever came back. But go watch Between Two Ferns, the movie, directed by Scott Aukerman, which is cool. As far as comedies go, I enjoyed it. It's a fun follow up to the show. But for sure, the outtakes. New episodes of the Ray Taylor Show come out every day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Go buy my artwork over at inspireddisorder.com and save 25% when you use coupon code RTS. Follow me on social media at Ray Taylor. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!